The ongoing feud between HasanAbi, also known as Hasan Piker, and Asmongold, whose real name is Zach Hoyt, has become one of the most explosive rivalries in the history of online streaming. This isn't just about internet drama, it's a battle of ideologies, influence, and identity. These two giants of Twitch have repeatedly collided over politics, creator responsibility, and personal ethics, each representing starkly different visions of what it means to have power in the digital age. What began as simple disagreements has escalated into a public war, fueled by millions of followers, media coverage, and the ever-watchful eye of the internet. This is no longer just a clash between two creators. It's a cultural fault line in the world of content creation. Origins of the tension. Where it all began. The roots of the HasanAbi versus Asmongold feud trace back far deeper than petty internet squabbles or streaming rivalries. They stem from a fundamental ideological clash that has slowly morphed into one of the most publicized creator conflicts in the Twitch and political streaming space. HasanAbi, also known as Hasan Piker, built his reputation as a sharp-tongued, unapologetic, leftist voice. Former commentator for the Young Turks, Hasan has never shied away from attacking the structures of power. Capitalism, he calls it exploitative. U.S. foreign policy, a tool for imperialism. Wealth inequality, a systemic failure. His streams often feel like fire and brimstone town halls, where he doesn't just offer opinions, he declares positions as moral imperatives. His viewers don't just watch him, they align with him. Then there's Asmongold, also known as Zach Hoyt, one of Twitch's most iconic MMO creators turned cultural commentator. He doesn't claim to be a political expert, but when he speaks, people listen. Asmongold presents himself as a rational centrist libertarian, deeply skeptical of political dogma from either side. He's known to question virtue signaling, mock the theatricality of online activism, and frequently critiques what he calls the echo chamber of progressive Twitch spaces. What began as differing worldviews eventually snowballed into public tension. As Hasan's audience grew, and so did his wealth, Asmongold began to raise eyebrows, question the optics of a self-proclaimed socialist living in a multi-million-dollar mansion. To him, there was a contradiction between Hasan's anti-capitalist rhetoric and his very capitalist lifestyle. And while Asmongold didn't always name names directly, the subtext was loud enough. The hypocrisy of the left was fair game. Hasan fired back in kind, not always directly, but with that signature-biting sarcasm and disdain for what he called pseudo-intellectual centrism. He accused creators like Asmongold of downplaying real issues, pandering to neutrality, and failing to take a stand in moments of moral crisis. To Hasan, being apolitical was just another way of enabling the status quo. From there, it was open season. Snide remarks turned into fiery rants. Passive-aggressive digs turned into full-on call-outs. Their communities, once overlapping, fractured into tribalistic factions. One side rallied behind Hasan's moral clarity and passion for justice. The other applauded Asmongold's grounded logic and refusal to bow to mob-driven discourse. This wasn't just a clash of content creators. It was a culture war waged on the battlefield of live streams and reaction clips, where ideology, ego, and influence collided for all the internet to see. The Rick Scott controversy, a flashpoint in the HasanAbi versus Asmongold feud. In early 2025, the simmering ideological tension between HasanAbi and Asmongold exploded into full-blown chaos, ignited by a single volatile comment on HasanAbi's livestream. Hasan, also known as Hasan Piker, was discussing the long-standing issue of Medicare fraud in the United States when he dropped a bombshell of a remark. With visible frustration, he said, "If people actually cared about Medicare fraud, they would kill Rick Scott." The internet froze. Whether it was meant as satire, hyperbole, or just raw emotional rhetoric, the damage was instant. The clip spread like wildfire across social media platforms, with many interpreting the statement as a direct call to violence against U.S. Senator Rick Scott. a controversial figure in his own right, once accused of overseeing massive Medicare fraud during his time as a healthcare executive. Twitch reacted swiftly, issuing Hasan a temporary suspension, citing violation of its policy on promoting or inciting violence. But the bigger eruption came from fellow Twitch titan Asmongold, real name Zach Hoyt, who didn't hold back in his response. On his own stream, Asmongold tore into the comment, calling it completely indefensible, reckless, and batshit crazy. He emphasized that regardless of Hasan's intentions or political beliefs, someone with his platform and influence had a moral responsibility not to feed into violent rhetoric, no matter how emotionally charged the issue. You can't just say things like that, even if you're being sarcastic, Asmongold said during his reaction stream. You have millions of viewers. Someone could take that literally. That's not just irresponsible, that's dangerous. This triggered a massive schism between their fan bases. Hasan's supporters argued that the remark was obviously satirical and rooted in justifiable outrage against systemic corruption, accusing Asmongold of virtue signaling and punching left. Meanwhile, Asmongold's followers applauded his stance, saying he was the only one willing to hold fellow creators accountable for crossing ethical boundaries. What started as a political and philosophical divide turned into an all-out civil war between two of the most powerful voices in online commentary. The fallout wasn't just digital, it became a larger cultural debate on free speech versus platform responsibility, moral outrage versus incitement, and whether content creators should be political firebrands or measured influencers. The Rick Scott incident didn't just deepen the rift, it defined it. And from that moment on, the feud between HasanAbi and Asmongold was no longer just about ideology. It was personal, it was public, and it was war. Holocaust comment fallout, January 2025. In one of the most explosive moments of their ongoing rivalry, Asmongold found himself in hot water during a January 2025 stream when he made an offhanded remark about the Holocaust, stating that it probably happened with 99% certainty. What he'd likely intended as a clumsy jab at online conspiracies was instantly met with widespread backlash. Viewers, historians, and fellow creators condemn the comment as dangerously flippant, a reckless way to treat one of history's gravest atrocities. The phrase, stripped of context, quickly spread across social media, clipped, re-uploaded, and dissected by both critics and supporters. HasanAbi was among the first to respond, and he did so with characteristic fire. He accused Asmongold of playing edgy fence-sitter for clout and downplaying historical genocide to provoke a reaction. In a fiery segment on his own stream, Hasan tore into the implications of Asmongold's words, arguing that this kind of unserious treatment of mass atrocity serves to embolden Holocaust deniers and conspiracy theorists, people who already thrive in the gray zones of misinformation and ambiguity. He emphasized that in an age where historical revisionism is on the rise, platforming even mild skepticism, even as a rhetorical device, is not just irresponsible, but dangerous. Asmongold, in response, pushed back, claiming that his words were taken out of context and that his statement was meant to reflect on the nature of internet discourse, not cast doubt on historical facts. But the damage was done. The internet firestorm had already engulfed them both. The incident reignited their long-simmering feud and polarized their communities even further. Critics accused Asmongold of intellectual cowardice, trying to appear above the fray while casually flirting with denialist rhetoric. At the same time, Hasan was also dragged into the controversy, with detractors accusing him of being a moral opportunist, using the incident to virtue signal and paint himself as the sole arbiter of ethical streaming. Twitter threads raged, Reddit lit up, and YouTube commentary channels milked the drama for all it was worth. But underneath the content cycle, a deeper question emerged. What is the responsibility of digital influencers when speaking on historical truth? This wasn't just another petty streamer beef. It became a flashpoint in the culture war, a moment where tone, responsibility, and platform influence collided in front of millions. For many, this was no longer about Hasan versus Asmongold. It was about what kind of internet we're building and who's shaping the narrative. The back and forth between HasanAbi and Asmongold didn't just stop at fiery debates and ideological rants. It evolved into a high-stakes spectacle, complete with public allegations, personal jabs, and a digital audience ravenous for drama. What started as a difference in political tone turned into a full-blown war of character assassination, streamed live and dissected in real time by millions. HasanAbi's allegations against Asmongold. Hasan didn't hold back. On stream, with visible exasperation, he accused Asmongold of platforming reactionary rhetoric under the sanitized cloak of centrism. To Hasan, Asmongold's refusal to take hard political stances wasn't neutrality, it was cowardice. Worse, he claimed Asmon gave cover to regressive views by letting them fester under the pretense of open discussion. He further charged Asmongold with profiting off outrage, pointing out how Asmon consistently covered Twitch controversies, social hot takes, and moral panics, all while pretending to be above it. Hasan described this behavior as disingenuous. You can't be a drama magnet and then pretend you hate drama. And when Asmongold did face heat, Hasan accused him of evading accountability, often hiding behind the "I'm just asking questions" defense, an old rhetorical trick used, in Hasan's words, by every fence-sitting contrarian who doesn't want to get their hands dirty. Asmongold hit back just as hard, weaponizing Hasan's own image against him. He called out the glaring contradiction between Hasan's anti-capitalist preaching and his luxury lifestyle, naming the multi-million-dollar mansion, designer fits, and sports cars. "You can't scream 'workers of the world, unite from a hot tub in Beverly Hills,'" Asmongold said sharply on stream, drawing laughter and applause from his audience. He also accused Hasan of hiding behind ideology, claiming that any criticism lobbed at him was instantly labeled as reactionary, right-wing, or bad faith. "Hasan doesn't debate," Asmon declared. "He dismisses. You disagree with him, suddenly you're a Nazi." But perhaps the most serious charge came when Asmongold accused Hasan of weaponizing his fanbase. He alleged that Hasan often implicitly greenlights harassment, sending waves of his devoted community to dogpile and swarm dissenting voices. "He doesn't need to say it directly," Asmongold noted. "The tone he sets does it for him." These weren't quiet accusations whispered behind the scenes. These were aired live, raw, and unfiltered, with tens of thousands watching. Twitter threads erupted, Reddit posts surged, YouTube clip channels milked every frame. It wasn't just creator drama, it was bloodsport, philosophical war, and digital theater all in one. Audiences weren't just choosing sides, they were choosing ideologies. Team Hasan waved the banner of radical change, defending their creator as someone unafraid to speak harsh truths. Team Asmon championed logic, accountability, and free thought, portraying their streamer as a necessary counterbalance to online moral absolutism. As the allegations mounted, so did the stakes. What began as a spat between two influential streamers became something much bigger, a battle over authenticity, influence, and the soul of Twitch politics itself. In May 2025, the already scorched earth of Twitch and YouTube politics ignited into a firestorm when HasanAbi appeared on Ethan Klein's H3 TV livestream. What was supposed to be a nuanced political discussion quickly veered into deeply controversial terrain when Hasan revisited one of the most sensitive topics of the past decade, the October 7, 2023 Hamas-Israel conflict. Hasan, never one to mince words, expressed his continued skepticism regarding some of the widely reported atrocities committed by Hamas during the attack, most notably the allegations of mass rape. While he stopped short of outright denial, he argued that the claims had been aggressively weaponized as part of a Zionist propaganda machine, a term that immediately set off alarm bells. He emphasized that he was demanding accountability and accuracy in wartime reporting, not defending violence. But the nuance was quickly lost in the resulting explosion online. The backlash was swift, and one of the loudest voices came from none other than Asmongold, who tore into Hasan during his own stream. In a scathing monologue, Asmon called Hasan's comments not just reckless, but revolting. He accused Hasan of playing defense for rape, arguing that casting doubt on survivors' stories, especially in such a public, influential platform, was an act of cruelty masked as critical thinking. This isn't edgy. This isn't brave. This is the kind of ideological blindness that makes you forget the basic line between skepticism and inhumanity, Asmon declared, visibly disgusted. But he didn't stop there. Asmongold then delivered a devastating character judgment, calling Hasan a generational crash-out in slow motion, implying that Hasan's entire public persona was spiraling into a collapse driven by ego, insularity, and a refusal to reflect. He painted a picture of a man so consumed by his own narrative that he was willing to torch empathy, truth, and even his own platform credibility to keep the flame of outrage alive. Clips of the debate and Asmon's rebuttal flooded social media, igniting the most polarizing discourse either creator had faced in years. Twitter threads, YouTube reactions, Reddit debates. The internet became a battleground of moral outrage, with some defending Hasan's right to question state narratives, and others condemning him for intellectualizing trauma at the expense of real human suffering. Critics of Hasan labeled his commentary as bordering on conspiracy apologia, while defenders insisted he was standing against the unchecked militarization of empathy, a phrase that itself trended after being used during the live stream. Meanwhile, Ethan Klein, caught in the crossfire, issued a muted follow-up on his next episode stating, "I don't agree with everything Hasan said, but I also don't believe he meant harm. That said, this isn't a subject to dance around." His non-committal stance only fueled further outrage, with both camps accusing him of cowardice or complicity. This moment marked a brutal turning point in the Hasan versus Asmongold rivalry. No longer a battle over internet culture or ideological nuance, but a collision of values, raw morality, and the very limits of free speech in the digital age. The discourse wasn't just heated, it was radioactive, with both creators emerging more defined and more divided than ever. In October 2024, Asmongold found himself at the center of a firestorm that would shake his reputation to its core. During a heated discussion on his live stream, he made what would soon become one of the most controversial statements of his career, bluntly declaring that Palestinians are terrible people and that their culture was inferior. The comments, laced with sweeping generalizations and cultural insensitivity, were instantly clipped, reposted, and dissected across social media. Outrage spread like wildfire. Viewers, commentators, and advocacy groups condemned the remarks as xenophobic, dehumanizing, and inexcusable. Cancel Asmongold trended on X, formerly Twitter, while Twitch chat and Reddit exploded with disbelief and fury. Even some of his most loyal followers found themselves struggling to defend the indefensible. Twitch acted swiftly, slapping Asmongold with a 2-week ban for violating its hate speech policies. But the punishment didn't stop there. The backlash pressured him to step down, temporarily but symbolically, from his leadership roles at both OTK, One True King, and Starforge Systems, the tech company he co-founded. In a public apology video, Asmongold looked visibly shaken. He called his own words reckless, indefensible, and unrepresentative of what he claimed to stand for. But to many, the damage was already done. Apology or not, the mask had slipped, and people were watching. HasanAbi and his community didn't hold back. Hasan used the moment to highlight what he saw as a long-standing pattern in Asmongold's behavior, performing neutrality while harboring regressive views. Clips of Hasan dissecting the incident went viral. He accused Asmongold of xenophobia, of dog whistle politics, and of revealing his true colors when pushed. Hasan's fans rallied hard, flooding forums and comment sections with phrases like, "So much for voice of reason. This is who he really is. Where's the accountability now?" This controversy didn't just spark outrage, it widened the ideological rift between the two streamers and their audiences. What had once been a cold war of content styles turned into an all-out cultural battleground where every misstep became a moral indictment. In the public arena of Twitch and YouTube, this wasn't just another drama, it was a reckoning. Community fallout and online toxicity, the aftermath of a streamer war. The digital war between HasanAbi and Asmongold has ignited more than just heated debates. It's scorched entire communities, leaving platforms like Twitch, YouTube, Twitter/X, and Reddit littered with the fallout of factional chaos. What started as ideological tension has mutated into a full-blown culture war, with millions of fans now functioning as surrogate armies. They operate like digital militia, not just defending their favorite creator, but launching coordinated strikes in the form of harassment campaigns, targeted meme attacks, and comment section raids. What's worse, Neither Hasan nor Asmongold fully controls them anymore. The machine runs on its own, algorithm-fueled, rage-powered, and perpetually escalating. Harassment campaigns and digital lynch mobs fans turn soldiers flood the opposing camp with hate. Hasan's Reddit and Twitch chats have been brigaded with screenshots of his mansion, sarcastic comrade memes, and endless spam about hypocrisy. Meanwhile, Asmongold has been targeted with accusations of crypto-fascism, racism, and playing dumb to dangerous rhetoric. These aren't just disagreements, they're full-scale digital assaults. Doxing threats, report spamming, and even attempts to deplatform each other's supporters have become routine. Misquotes and out of context. Clip farming. Every live stream now runs the risk of being clipped, twisted, and repackaged as bait. A slight eye roll, a sarcastic remark, a flustered reply. All fair game for hate farmers who upload misleading clips with explosive titles like "Hasan defends violence" or "Asmongold slams Jews." These bite-sized outrage bombs rack up millions of views, fueling the algorithm and weaponizing misinformation. The truth is irrelevant. The reaction is the product. The bigger debate: ethics of political entertainment. As the battlefield smolders, a larger conversation has emerged, one far more philosophical. Should political streamers be entertainers? And if they are entertainers, should they be bound by a different ethical code? Critics argue that Hasan's emotional outbursts blur the line between satire and dangerous speech, especially when clipped out of context. On the other hand, Asmongold's neutrality is being dissected as performative, an act that conveniently avoids accountability while benefiting from the moral high ground. Viewers, once passive, now question: is it okay to entertain with politics? Or does that reduce real suffering to spectacle? A war with no end in sight. This isn't just beef between two creators, it's a digital proxy war reflecting larger ideological divides. Team Hasan and Team Asmon are no longer fandoms. They're political cults constantly on edge, ready to go nuclear over a tweet, a stream comment, or a poorly worded joke. And with every new controversy, every new viral clip, the internet becomes more polarized, less empathetic, and far more toxic. The battleground has shifted from the creators themselves to the communities they've built. And in this war of words, context is the first casualty. Broader cultural impact, the blurred lines of influence. The HasanAbi versus Asmongold feud has spiraled far beyond a personal clash between two Twitch giants. It has cracked open the fragile architecture of the modern streaming ecosystem, exposing how volatile, inconsistent, and deeply polarized this world has become. In 2025, streamers aren't just entertainers, they're political commentators, culture shapers, and ideological figureheads. The digital battlefield isn't just about content anymore. It's about identity, belief, morality, and who gets to control the narrative. This drama has become a mirror for three defining crises in modern digital culture. 1. Platform inconsistency and weaponized policy enforcement. Hasan was swiftly banned for a heated remark. Asmongold, despite past controversial comments about Palestinians and Holocaust denial flirtations, managed to dodge permanent consequences. This inconsistency highlights a festering issue. Platforms like Twitch often bend their own rules based on public pressure, favoritism, or chaos management, not justice. The question isn't just, was it wrong? It's, was it wrong enough to be punished? And who decides? The terms of service have become a weaponized fog, selectively enforced, debated endlessly by viewers, and exploited by creators to rally or victimize themselves depending on the day. 2. Role models or profit engines. Are massive streamers supposed to lead with ethics, or are they just riding trends for maximum engagement? Asmongold positions himself as a voice of rationality, while Hasan wears the mantle of revolutionary truth-teller, but both also rake in millions. Their lifestyles, sponsorships, merch lines, mansions, massive audiences contradict their supposed humility or neutrality. It raises a deeper cultural question. Can you truly be anti-establishment when you're one of the most powerful voices in the establishment? Audiences are forced to reconcile this contradiction. For every passionate fan defending their streamer's ideals, there's a critic asking if the outrage is real or just content bait. And in this environment, sincerity and spectacle are indistinguishable. 3. Narrative control in the age of parasocial warfare. Streamers today are narrative gods in their own echo chambers. With a well-timed live stream, clip, or tweet, they can twist reality, redirect backlash, or frame themselves as either martyr or mastermind. In this battle, both Hasan and Asmongold have accused each other of hypocrisy, deflection, and manipulation, and in doing so, they've proven just how dangerously flexible online truth has become. Accountability doesn't mean answering for your actions anymore. It means outshouting the criticism. Fans fight proxy wars in comment sections and subreddit threads. Streamers quote half clips and bury contradictions under a flood of new content. Reality is always one rant away from revision. This isn't just a drama, it's a cultural flashpoint. The Hasan versus Asmon feud is the clearest symbol of the influencer era's identity crisis. It's about more than bans or bad takes. It's about how power functions in the new media age. The battle lines have been drawn not just between two creators, but between ideologies, expectations, and the chaotic digital rules that govern all of us. It's not just a feud, it's a referendum on what being an influencer means in 2025. Will it ever end? The HasanAbi versus Asmongold drama is an ideological and personal feud that continues to evolve. With neither side backing down and both communities firmly entrenched, the rivalry may never truly end, only pause and reignite based on new controversies. While some fans hope for reconciliation and honest debate, others feed off the spectacle. Whether it's about justice, clout, or ego, this conflict exemplifies how internet culture thrives on polarizing figures and how personal beliefs can turn into public battlegrounds when millions are watching.